Okay, here we go. Lesson 15. So we're going to do something today called composition of functions. Like I said, I think the lesson's only going to be 40 minutes, so we can all get a nice start on all the stuff we have to do for the weekend, okay? So composition of functions is when you plug something in for x into an equation, okay? So here's this, for example, f of x minus 1. So you go into this f of x right there, and wherever you see an x, you replace it with x minus 1. So this is 3 times x minus 1 plus 4. So I just took the x, I erased it, and I replaced it with that, okay? Up above, do me a favor and write the word simplify. I really need you to remember what to simplify means, and it means that you have no parentheses in your answer anymore, okay? So let's simplify that, and it's not simplified because it still has parentheses, right? So if I distribute, I get 3x minus 3 plus 4, and then I combine the 3 and the 4, so it's 3x plus 1, and that's my answer, and that's it. It's not an equation. So I think the biggest mistake, truly, you guys, that people make on this is that they solve it, so they get like x equals something. And I think they do that because they put a 0 right there and then they turn it into an equation. But that's not what we're doing. We're just simplifying the right-hand side. That's all you do. Okay, let's do the next one, g of x plus 2. So here's your g of x, you guys. And right here where I see an x, I'm going to put in an x plus 2. So I just go in parentheses, x plus 2 squared minus 2. Okay, so tell me with one word what the next step would be. To write it twice, and then once I write it twice, I would FOIL. Well, I'm not even going to write it twice. I'm just going to FOIL it in my head. So if you guys want to do that, that's great. So when I FOIL it in my head, I get x to the second plus 4x plus 4 minus 2. And then I simplify it, and I get x to the second plus 4x plus 2. That's my answer, and I'm done. Okay, who says got it? Okay, great. So this right here, I want you to be able to say it correctly. So everybody look right here, okay? And this, the way you say that is this. So write down an F, and it's of G of X. So it's F of G of X. This right here, guys, means exactly the same thing, okay? I prefer this guy right here. Put a little star by that one. I think it's easier for you to understand if you write it the second way, and I'll show you why, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's do question A. So the first thing I notice about question A, guys, is it's not written the way I think that it would be best for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is write it in a good way, which is like this, f of g of x. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is this. Look, you guys, I take that g of x and I replace it with what g of x is. So it's f of 5 minus 2x. So now it's easy. I go into my f of x, and right here where I see an x, I'll put in 5 minus 2x. So I go 2 times 5 minus 2x minus 3. Who says I'm following you? Give me a raise. Okay, great. Distribute the 2, and you get 10 minus 4x minus 3, and then 10 minus 3 is 7, so the answer is 7 minus 4x, and we're done. I didn't get like x equals, 7 fourths or 4 sevenths. I'm not solving. I'm just simplifying. Just an expression, okay? Okay, question?
You also do like -4 plus f.
Yeah, you could totally write it like this, -4x plus 7. Same thing, yeah. Okay, question B. The first thing I want you guys to do is to write it as g of f of x, like that. And then take that f of x and replace it with what f of x is, which is 2x minus 3. Now you go into this g of x, which is right here. And where I see that x right there, I'm going to replace it with 2x minus 3. So it's 5 minus 2, and then in parentheses 2x minus 3. So nothing happens to the 5, but I distribute the negative 2, and I get negative 4x plus 6. 6 plus 5 is 11 minus 4x. You could also write negative 4x plus 11, and you're done. Okay? Who says I'm totally good? Let me say something. I want to see if you guys can understand this. Listen, okay? On question A, I take g of x and I plug it in for x into f of x. On question B, I take f of x and I plug it in for x into g of x. Who says I understand that? Okay, great. If you don't, it's okay. Just follow the steps, okay? So question C is different though, because now look what we've got. Everybody put an arrow, draw an arrow right there. You have a number and not an x. So you're going to do this differently. If it's a number, you're going to go from right to left like that. So you're going to go the backwards order, okay? Okay, so everybody write like this. F of g of 3. So I'm going to go from the right to the left because it's a number. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find g of 3. Okay, so I'm going to come right here and I'm going to say, let's find g of 3. So I go into that g of x, that pink one, and where I see that x, I'm going to put in a 3. So it's 5 minus 2 times 3. So that is 5 minus 6, and 5 minus 6 is a negative 1. So now, see this g of 3, guys? If I wanted to, I could cross it out and replace it with a negative 1, because that's what it's equal to. So now that I've found that, now I find f of negative 1. So I go into my f of x, which is the yellow one, put in a negative 1. So it's 2 times negative 1 plus 3. Well, 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2, minus 3 is a negative 5. That's your answer, and you're done. And you could also just, put this line right here in your calculator and get a negative 5. So the only answer is the final number. Who says got that? Let's see. Okay, good. Okay, question D. If I ever go too fast and you're having a hard time keeping up, just make sure you raise your hand and just say, can you please slow down? Okay. Okay, question D. The first thing we're going to do is find f of negative 2. So go into that f of x and put in a negative 2. So it's 2 times negative 2 minus 3. You could literally just type that in your calculator, just the way you see it. Or you could figure it out. Either way, we get a negative 7. So now I know f of negative 2 is negative 7. So everybody in the room, tell me, because I want to see if you're with me. What do we do now? G of negative 7. Yeah. So now I'm going to find g of negative 7. So I go into that g of x, and I put a negative 7 in for x, like that. So that's going to be 5 plus 14, and that gives me 19. Or I could just stick it in my calculator, and that's it. Okay? Who says I'm good? I get this, I feel good. Okay, great. Okay, so on question 2, they don't have numbers again. So no, we're going back to just what we did before, okay? So see this g of x? Let's replace it with what g of x is, which is x plus 6. So now I go into this yellow f of x, and right there where I see my x, I put in x plus 6. I have to make sure I put it in parentheses. So it's x plus 6 squared minus 1. Okay, tell me with one word what we're going to do right here. You're going to FOIL, and you can just FOIL right here. I don't even care if you write it twice, because I know at this point you can pretty much probably do it in your head, right? So that's going to give me x to the second plus 12x plus 36 minus 1. And then when I combine it, it's x to the second plus 12x plus 35. That's my answer, and I'm done. Okay, let's do B. G of x squared minus 1. So I'm going to go into this g of x, which is the pink one, right here where I see that x, I'm going to put in x squared minus 1. So it's x squared minus 1 plus 6. So that gives us x squared plus 5. That's my answer. Done. Okay, now look at question 3. So what are we starting to get in with question 3? Somebody tell me. Starting to get into some fractions, yeah. Okay, so let's just stay nice and calm. Okay, everybody go f of g of x. I'm going to write it the good way. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go g of f of x. We do a lot of these yucky kind of fractions in 1050, just so you guys know, okay? So take this g of x and replace it with what g of x is. So it's f of 1 over x. You know what I'm going to do? The first one takes more room, I remember. So I'm just going to wait for a second to write that other one because I feel like I'm going to need more room than what I gave myself. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this f of x, and where I see an x, I'm going to put in 1 over x. So we look here, that's going to become a 1 over x, and that's going to become a 1 over x. Okay, so everybody go 1 over x plus 2. Big long line. Underneath 1 over x, and that is minus 1, like that. Okay? All right. Now, on the top, I have to get a common denominator. This is 1 over x plus 2 over 1. Can anybody tell me what the common denominator on the top is going to be? It's going to be an x. Yes. So this guy right here, he already had the x. So I'm just going to write down a 1. This guy right here in pink, he didn't have the x. So I have to go 2 times x, and that gives me 2x right there. Okay? Same thing on the bottom. Everybody in the room talk to me so I can see if you understand. What's my common denominator on the bottom? It is again an x. Good. So this guy, purple guy, already had an x. So I'm going to put a 1. This guy right here in green, he's missing the x. So I go 1 times x is x, so a negative 1 times x is negative x. Okay? Now I'm going to divide it out. Hi, bud. See this division bar right here, guys? I want you to write it as a division symbol. Thank you. Okay, so everybody write 1 plus 2x over x divided by 1 minus x over x. So all I did is rewrote it. This time I wrote this big bar with a division symbol. Okay, now remember when you're dividing fractions, you leave the first guy alone, so write him down. You change the division to a multiplication, and what do, everybody? You flip it upside down, right? So this is x over 1 over x. Okay, and everybody watch. See this x right here at the top? He's free. The reason he's free, he's not added or subtracted to anything. See this x down here at the bottom? He's free also because he's not added or subtracted to anything. So if I have an x on the top and an x on the bottom and I'm multiplying, I can cancel those. So that x will cancel with that x. So then on top, I have 1 plus 2x. On the bottom, I have 1 minus x. Okay? Can I cancel the x's? Tell me that. What do you think? I cannot. If I cancel the x's, it would be what, everybody? It would be rude. Do you remember talking about being rude? It would be rude. Who would it be rude to if I canceled those x's? Who would I be excluding? The 1's is exactly right. Yeah. Okay, if that was tough for you, don't panic, okay? Draw a line. We're going to do it 3 more times with fractions. So I think it's going to click. It's just going to take a minute, okay? Okay, let's do the next one. So this is g of f of x. So take this f of x and replace it with what f of x is. So I'm finding g of x plus 2 over x minus 1. Now I'm going to go into the g of x, which is right here, this green equation. And where I see that x, I'm going to put in x plus 2 over x minus 1. So it's 1 over x plus 2 over x minus 1. Do you see this division bar right here, guys? Do you see how I made it like really long? I call that the main division bar. And the reason it's the main one, because that's the one I'm going to write as a division symbol, okay? So everybody write it like this. 1 divided by, so make it a symbol, and then it's x plus 2 over x minus 1. Change the 1 into a fraction, so it's 1 over 1. And now I flip it upside down, the second one, and it's x minus 1 over x plus 2. And then when I multiply those straight across, the tops together and the bottoms together, 1 times x minus 1 is x minus 1, 1 times x plus 2 is x plus 2, and that is my answer. Okay, we're going to do it again, and it's going to click, I promise. Okay, let's do question F. So the first thing I'm going to do is f of g of x. So I'm going to take that g of x, and I'm going to replace it with what g of x is, which is x over 2 plus 3. Then I'm going to go into this yellow f of x, and right there where I see an x, I'm going to put x over 2 plus 3. So everybody go 2 parenthesis, x over 2 plus 3, and then you still have the minus 6 after that. Distribute the 2. Can anybody tell me what 2 multiplied by x over 2 is? Do you know what that is? It is an x. Yeah, the 2's cancel. So that's just an x. And then 2 times 3 is a 6 minus 6. 6 minus 6 goes away. I get an x, and I'm done. That's it. Okay, let's do the other one. Let's do g of f of x. So this is going to be g of 2x minus 6. So I'm going to go into this purple g of x. Right here where I see an x, I'm going to replace it with 2x minus 6. So everybody go 2x minus 6 over 2 plus 3. Look at the fraction. Don't look at the 3, but look at the fraction. Does 2 go into all those numbers? It goes into every one of them. So now I can reduce. I go 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 6 3 times. On the bottom, 2 goes into 2 one time, but I don't have to write that one on the bottom. Okay? And then I still have the plus 3. Those cancel, and I end up getting x. And that's it. Who says I'm okay? Let me see. Okay, the fractions are kind of tough, right? You just have to know how to get a common denominator, and you have to know that you have to, how to multiply and divide and stuff like that, okay? Okay, this is easy. You're going to like this, okay? So, do you see how this is a number, right? So then you go from right to left. So the first thing I want everybody to do is to find g of negative 10. You guys, or g of 10, pardon me. The 10 is an x value, right? If it's inside, it's an x value. So guys, look, I'm looking right here at this purple table. So if x is a 10, what's y? 3. So g of 10 is a 3. So if I wanted to replace that g of 10 with a 3 right there, I could. So now I find f of 3. So now I go into this yellow table. And again, that 3 is an x value. So if x is a 3, y is an 11, that's my answer, and I'm done. Let's do it again. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is find f of 9. I go into the yellow table, and when x is 9, y is 15. Now I find g of, tell me everybody, 15. What table, yellow or purple? Purple. And is the 15 an x or is the 15 a y? Bless you. It's an x, right? So if x is 15, y is 122. That's my answer, and I'm done. Who says I get it? Okay, I want you to do C by yourself. Go ahead and do C, okay? See what you get. person that you've been pairing up with and tell them what you got and see if you got the same thing. If you didn't match up, then let's figure out who's wrong.
Did we already do this?
All right.
I think I only missed like 2.
Okay, you guys ready? Peyton, what'd you guys come up with?
We both got the same answers where we got G 12 equals 6 and then F 6 equals 18.
So the final answer would be what? Tell me the final answer.
18.
Just 18. Yep, you're exactly right. He was kind of unsure. He was like, 18. You're right. Who says, yep, we knew it was 18. Let's see. Okay, anybody need help with that? Okay, awesome. Okay, let's do 6. So this is a little... Did we have any highlights on this section that it was on the midterm? Oh, no, because it's not on the midterm, right? I do have the workbook highlighted for the final, just so you guys know. I don't think we should do it today. I think you guys want to get your corrections done and start your homework. Am I right? Yeah. So I have it done. I do need to show you. But anyway, it's obviously not on the midterm because the midterm's, before this. Okay, so little confusing, so watch. The function c of x takes something that's in Fahrenheit and turns it into a Celsius. The next equation takes something that's a Celsius and turns it into a Kelvins. Okay? Well, now they want Kelvin as a function of Fahrenheit. So everybody write this right here. They want Fahrenheit, and then over here, the only thing they have, actually I'm saying that wrong. I'm doing that wrong, sorry. Kelvin is here as a function of Fahrenheit. Okay, so they want an equation that's solved for K that's written in terms of F. And over there with the F, just kind of do some wiggly lines. And what that's saying is there's other things over there. Right here, guys, you don't have to do anything, but you know how you have like y equals 4x minus 2, I'm just making that up. That's y in terms of x. So they want kelvins in terms of Fahrenheit, okay? So let me show you how to do it. Everybody write down C of F is equal to 5/9 times F minus 32. The next one is K of C equals C plus 273. Okay, now what I want you to do is this. Do you see the C of F? Well, the of F just tells me that the only variable I have over here is an F. Well, I can see that. So if I wanted to, I could actually simplify it and just write it as C equals that. So do that. Erase the of F and it's going to look nicer. Same thing over here. This of C tells me that the only equation I have over there, the only variable I have is this C. Well, I can see that. So I'm just going to erase it. Okay, so now I've just kind of simplified it a little bit. The of F and the of C isn't really necessary for the equation. Who says I understand what you just said? Okay, great. Look at this. I have kelvins in terms of C. I want kelvins in terms of F. But I know that C is 5/9 F minus 32. So I'm just going to substitute it in. This is just substitution. So everybody write K equals, write down your C, which is 5/9 times F minus 32 plus 273, and I'm done. That's all I have to do. Right here where I see the C, I just replace it with what C is. Who says I get that? Let me see up high. Okay. Determine 80° Fahrenheit in Kelvin. So now they're saying F is 80. So everybody go K equals 5/9 times 80 minus 32 plus 273. So all